I would now like to introduce Hubert Lacroix, the President and CEO of CBC Radio-Canada. And just to give you an idea of his energy level, which is incredible, at university, he played on 4 university sports teams while completing his law degree. Today, he not only manages the CBC, he sits on several boards, raises a young family, and runs marathons. And he also runs the CBC, which is no small amount of work in itself, I can tell you. It's a very complex organization. I was there for many years, and being president of the CBC is a very layered, demanding job, and Monsieur Lacroix approaches it with great passion and a great commitment to public broadcasting. So let's give a warm welcome to Hubert Lacroix.
Good morning, thanks for having me. John, partnerships, spaces, collaboration, you're going to hear more of that from me. Carole, challenges like a corporate plan, challenges like content with the US just south of the border. We know about those challenges. Good luck with the plan. What am I going to talk to you about this morning? Well, I'm going to talk to you about Bobino. I'm going to talk to you about Walt Disney. I'm going to talk to you about Danny Gallivan. And I'm going to tell you why these 3 characters are absolutely central to the new plan that we announced a couple of weeks ago, which is called Everyone, Every Way. It's our roadmap for the next 5 years. But because I didn't want to be undone by my friend Carole, I also have a video. It's 5 minutes, and it's going to introduce my matter this morning. So I hope you're going to see Bobino in a couple of seconds, because he's an important person in my life. He was with Bobinette on Radio-Canada's airwaves from 1957 to 1985. That's 28 years. Just about the same time, The Friendly Giant was there on CBC. When I was a kid, in the early 60s, Bobino welcomed me into his home every night at 4 p.m. I'd actually come home from school, and the routine was the same. Glass of milk, cookies, Bobino. And when he tipped his hat and said, "Bonjour les tout petits," I was sure that Bobino was talking to me on a one-on-one basis. Made me laugh, told me stories, made me understand my world. I trusted Bobino. He brought me into a safe, comfortable place where I was always welcome. And he managed to create this really powerful emotional bond with me, and he nurtured it every day. Growing up, felt the same way about Walt Disney. Sunday nights on CBC, wonderful world of Disney. Opened my eyes to animals, Magic Kingdom, quality animated cartoons, movies. He sparked my imagination. An American on Canada's National Public Broadcasting Network fascinated me with his stories. And then it was about hockey. Fell into hockey, loved it, played it, listened to it in the other official language, and it was all about Danny Gallivan. Hockey Night in Canada. I lived and died by the Montreal Canadiens, but the person who actually made hockey and created this bond with me was his voice. I'm sure you probably remember, well, you know, the famous Serge Chavard spinoramas and the he shoots, he scores. Danny Gallivan was my hockey. 50 years later, obviously, our media landscape has changed, and we have evolved. Now, on Sunday evening, it's a Canadian program, Heartland, that you'll find in that slot. And we've transformed Hockey Night in Canada into a multimedia experience, and we've connected hockey to the communities with things like Craft Hockeyville, Hyundai Hockey Nation, or what we did a couple of Saturdays ago from the Yukon, Hockey Day in Canada. Yet, in this very crowded universe, what's even more important is the need for us as the public broadcaster to create and nurture with each of you in the room the kind of rapport that I had with Bobino, Walt Disney, and Danny Gallivan. Can't be all things to all people. You heard that. But given our stature, we think that the public broadcaster should mean something very special and relevant to each and every one of you in this room, whether it's by recreating Bobino or the Friendly Giant nowadays. And picture that for a sec. Bobino would have to be on your iPad, your cell phone, would probably have to have a website where the kids could immediately have conversations with him. Bobino or the Friendly Giant would have to refresh their Facebook pages, tweet. You know, the music, Friendly Giant, the flute, probably on a podcast. And maybe the drawbridge is in 3D when it comes down. You know, something of that kind. Or whether it's opening the world to today's young adults through our news and current affairs coverage. For me, it was Bernard de Rome and Joël Lebigot. For many of you in the room, maybe it was Peter Zosky and Norton Nash. But today we recognize that young people are just as interested, or often just as interested, by the mobility of the content that we send them than by the content itself. And we also recognize that news is likely to be reported and conveyed to you, perhaps by an Egyptian, Canadian grandmother with a cell phone on some square in Cairo, than it is about Peter waiting at 10 p.m. to deliver the news. And whether it's by recreating distinctive programs like you've watched, many of you in this room, those people of a certain age, Da Vinci's Inquest, Man Alive, Beachcombers, but realizing that even those people of that certain age don't want to be restricted by a television schedule and really have things to say to the public broadcaster about what they watch every day. All of this to say that our role as the public broadcaster is to forge a bond of trust with you, and then from that trust create spaces where people of all ages will come and debate, whether they live in different provinces, different communities, next door to each other. We want to facilitate conversations amongst them so that they can be better informed. These spaces must be inviting, safe, recognized for the quality of their conversations. So it's all about connecting us and you. It's about Bobino, Walt Disney, and Danny Gallivan. That's why they're central to our strategic plan. And every time I think about what we should be focusing on or concentrating on as a public broadcaster, I think of Bobino and that very, very special relationship that he had with me and that I still carry. So you heard about the plan now? What is it all about, quickly? First off, it's about content. You won't be surprised to hear that we want to continue being distinctive. And you'll hear that on CBC in particular, even more Canadian than we are today. So yes, we are dealing with the Wheel of Fortune and the Jeopardy slots. More Canadian stories about Canadians, realities, humor, and values. Also, we're going to produce and air 10 signature events per year on both our English and our French networks. And it's about these events being on all of our platforms and reaching deep into the communities. Examples of what we have in store, or what that would represent for us, are Live Right Now, Champions of Change, We Will Remember Them, and Culture Days on CBC. En Radio-Canada, récemment, le fameux concert qu'on a diffusé à partir de l'Église Notre-Dame à Noël, et la journée Darwin qu'on a fait il y a quelques mois. These signature events are truly unique. They will bring Canadians together in large numbers. They have a major cultural impact. They leave their mark. And they set us apart from any other broadcaster. It's also this plan about us strengthening our regional presence and our role in community spaces. We recognize, frankly, that we haven't done this all the time in the best of ways, and that we probably haven't met the expectations of Canadians in that regard. This is a common priority, but because the challenges on CBC's side and on Radio-Canada's side are different, you will see it approached in a very different way. On the CBC side of the house, you'll see us extend our services in areas where we lack a presence, whether it's because there's some coverage issues or simply because the population is no longer living in 2011 where it used to live 25 years ago, which was the last time we extended our coverage anywhere. We figure there's about 7.5 million Canadians that don't have a local connection of some kind to our services. We want to address that issue. And in these places, our goal will be to increase our presence by new delivery models. And whether that is a new multimedia station, whether that's with a radio antenna or not, whether it's by combining a local or a regional website or a hyperlocal website with a television station or radio station that we have, or combining everything that you've heard so far. And we're now in the process of determining which cities at what time. I'd like you to keep in mind that it's a 5-year plan, and there's been so much interest in this part of our announcement that we're thinking about doing what the NHL does. We're going to run a contest, have people bid for it, and the highest dollars will win. No, that's a joke. But it's a great model. Quant à Radio-Canada, je peux vous donner 2 exemples de ce qu'on fait à Rimouski, évidemment, notre nouveau centre multimédia, où on va rapatrier les nouvelles locales pour faire en sorte qu'on soit beaucoup plus présent dans l'Est du Québec. Et dans la région de Montréal, on s'interroge dans le moment sur comment mieux servir les gens qui sont en bordure, soit à Longueuil ou la Rive-Sud. Il y a à peu près 1 million de personnes dans ces 2 ceintures-là qui maintenant ont une vie culturelle très différente de ceux qui vivent sur l'île de Montréal. So we're not looking to exiting any of the locations in which we are. That's an important principle. But we are going to change the way we deliver our services in some of those communities because we want to expand our new media presence, while, in some cases, scaling back on our traditional delivery models. Finally, you heard about new platforms, including social networks. Over the next 5 years, we will push that hard. Next week, for example, you'll see that on CBC, we're going to be trialing a mobile news service where we're actually going to be able to send you news on your phone based on where you're located in Canada. Geolocated apps. Chez Radio-Canada, nous allons profiter du web pour accélérer la création d'émissions telles qu'en audition avec Simon, ou l'initiative que nous avons annoncée hier après-midi, Fabrique-moi un compte, notre nouvelle web-série interactive sur radiocanada.ca. To help us maintain our digital leadership and push forward, we will double our current level of digital investment so that in 2015, it represents about 5% of our media budgets, and that would mean about $70 million. So, 3 thrusts, ambitious plan, and one that's clearly impossible for us to do by ourselves. And in fact, we've never gone at this alone. We owe a great part of our success to the people who sit in this room. And we thank you for it. I thank you for it. Let me put that in perspective. For 2010-2011 alone, independent producers helped us bring a total of 72 programs into being from about 2,600 proposals that we received. And in CBC's 2011 primetime winter schedule alone, 40% of the shows that you're watching right now have been produced by somebody in this room.